Welcome to Coins News Daily. Today we're diving into the most valuable and rarest Lincoln 1-cent wheat pennies in the United States of America, coins that may look ordinary, but can be worth hundreds, thousands, or even more. Some of these pennies are so rare that collectors are willing to pay unbelievable prices. And the craziest part, you might already have one in your pocket, jar, or old collection, so make sure you watch till the end, because missing even one small detail could mean losing a life-changing opportunity. If you enjoyed this video and want to discover more hidden treasures like this, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Also, comment below if you've ever found a rare coin. I'd love to hear your story. Thanks with love for watching. Top 1. Today we are diving into a fascinating piece of American coin history that has quietly captured the attention of collectors, treasure hunters, and everyday people who suddenly discover that a small copper coin in their pocket might be worth far more than they ever imagined. This is the story of the 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that at first glance looks completely ordinary, but holds layers of rarity, mystery, and surprising value that make it one of the most talked about coins among enthusiasts. Imagine holding a coin that was minted more than 70 years ago, a coin that passed through countless hands, survived decades of change, and still carries its original identity. The 1952 wheat penny was struck at the Denver Mint during a time when the United States was transitioning through post-war growth. Millions of pennies were produced that year, but not all of them are created equal, and that is where the real story begins. At first, you might think that a coin produced in such large numbers could never be rare. That is where most people are wrong. While the overall mintage was indeed high, the number of coins that have survived in exceptional condition is extremely low. Coins were used heavily in everyday transactions, often tossed into jars, pockets, and drawers without a second thought. Over time, wear, scratches, and environmental damage reduced the number of high-quality specimens dramatically. Now picture a collector examining a 1952 wheat penny under bright light. They are not just looking at the date or the mint mark. They are studying the surface, the texture, the fine details in Abraham Lincoln's portrait, and the wheat stalks on the reverse side. Every tiny detail matters. Coins that retain their original red luster are especially valuable because that bright copper color fades quickly over time. Finding one that still glows with its original mint brilliance is like discovering a time capsule, but condition alone is not the only factor that makes this coin exciting. Errors and varieties play a huge role in increasing its desirability. During the minting process, even the smallest mistake can create a unique variation that collectors are eager to find. For the 1952 wheat penny, some of the most interesting errors include repunched mint marks, die cracks, and off-center strikes. A repunched mint mark happens when the letter D was stamped more than once in slightly different positions. This creates a shadow-like effect that can sometimes be seen with the naked eye, but often requires magnification. These subtle differences can turn an ordinary coin into a highly sought-after collectible. Die cracks are another feature that adds character and value. As the dies used to strike coins wear down over time, small cracks can form. When coins are struck with these cracked dies, the cracks appear as raised lines on the coin's surface. Some collectors specifically look for these because they tell a story of the coin's production process and the lifespan of the minting equipment. Off-center strikes are perhaps the most visually striking errors. These occur when the coin is not properly aligned during the striking process, resulting in a design that is partially missing or shifted. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin can become, especially if the date and mint mark are still visible. Now let's talk about why collectors are so passionate about this particular coin. It is not just about money. It is about the thrill of discovery. The idea that something so small and overlooked could hold significant value is incredibly exciting. People search through rolls of pennies, old collections, and even loose change hoping to find that one special piece. The 1952 wheat penny also represents a connection to history. Every coin from that era carries the marks of its journey. It may have been used to buy a newspaper, a cup of coffee, or a bus ticket decades ago. Today, it sits in a collection or a protective holder, admired for its preservation and uniqueness. If you are someone who is interested in starting coin collecting, this is a perfect example of why the hobby is so rewarding. You do not need to invest huge amounts of money to begin. Sometimes, the most valuable discoveries come from coins you already have. All it takes is a careful eye, a bit of knowledge, and a willingness to look closely at the details. When examining a 1952 wheat penny, always check the mint mark carefully. Look for any unusual features around the letter D. Use a magnifying glass to inspect the surfaces for signs of doubling, cracks, or other anomalies. Pay attention to the color as well. Coins that still have a rich red tone are generally more valuable than those that have turned brown. Storage is also very important. If you happen to find a coin that appears to be in excellent condition, handle it carefully. Avoid touching the surface directly, as oils from your fingers can cause damage over time. Store it in a protective holder to preserve its condition and prevent further wear. As the demand for rare coins continues to grow, pieces like the 1952 wheat penny are becoming increasingly desirable. Collectors around the world are constantly searching for high-grade examples and unique error varieties. This demand drives prices upward, making it possible for even a small coin to achieve impressive values at auction. And now, the moment everyone has been waiting for, the real market value and auction worth of this coin. A standard circulated 1952 wheat penny typically holds a value of a few cents to a few dollars depending on its condition. However, in uncirculated condition with strong original red luster, the value can reach several $100s. Exceptional specimens graded at the highest levels have been known to sell for over $1,000. Rare error varieties, especially those with clear and dramatic features, can push the value even higher, sometimes reaching several $1,000s at auction depending on rarity and demand. So the next time you come across an old penny, do not dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. You might just be holding a small piece of history that carries a story, a mystery, and possibly a surprising amount of value. Top 2. We are diving into a fascinating story hidden inside one of the smallest and most overlooked pieces of American history, the 1951 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks like just another old coin, something you might find lying in a drawer or mixed in a jar of loose change. But what if I told you that this humble penny could carry surprising value, mystery, and collector demand that has grown steadily over the years? Imagine holding a coin that has traveled through decades, passed from hand to hand, witnessed changing times, and still holds secrets waiting to be discovered. That is exactly what makes the 1951 wheat penny so captivating. This coin is part of the famous Lincoln Wheat Cent series, which began in 1909 and continued until 1958. These coins are beloved by collectors because they represent a classic era of American coinage, featuring the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and two elegant wheat stalks on the back. Now let's talk specifically about the 1951 penny with no mint mark. When a coin has no mint mark, it means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. In 1951, the Philadelphia Mint struck a very large number of pennies, which means at first glance, this coin might not seem rare. Millions were produced, and many are still around today. But here's where things start to get interesting. The real value of a coin is not just about how many were made, but how many have survived in excellent condition and whether any unique errors or variations exist. Most 1951 wheat pennies you will find are worn from circulation. They have scratches, faded details, and a dull appearance. But if you come across one in brilliant, uncirculated condition, with sharp details and original red luster, that's when collectors start paying attention. Collectors categorize these coins based on their color and condition. Red coins, which still retain their original copper shine, are the most desirable. Red-brown coins come next, and brown coins, which have lost their original luster, are usually the least valuable. So if you ever find a 1951 penny that still glows with a bright reddish color, you may be holding something special. Now let's explore the errors and varieties that can turn an ordinary 1951 penny into a rare and valuable collectible. One of the most exciting things collectors look for is a double die error. This happens when the coin is struck with a misaligned die, causing parts of the design, especially the lettering or numbers, to appear doubled. These errors can be subtle, so you need to look closely at the date and the word Liberty. If you notice clear doubling, that coin could be significantly more valuable. Another type of error to watch for is off-center strikes. This happens when the coin blank is not properly aligned during the striking process, resulting in part of the design being cut off. The more off-center the coin is while still showing the date, the more valuable it can become. There are also die cracks and cuds, which occur when the coin die begins to break down after repeated use. These can create raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface. While some collectors overlook these, others actively seek them out, especially if they are dramatic and easy to see. Let's not forget about the importance of grading. Professional grading services evaluate coins based on their condition, assigning them a grade that can dramatically affect their value. A 1951 wheat penny in average circulated condition might only be worth a small amount, but the same coin in mint state condition with a high grade can be worth many times more. Another factor that adds to the appeal of this coin is its historical context. The year 1951 was a time of post-war growth in the United States. Coins from this era represent a nation rebuilding and expanding, and collectors often feel a connection to that history when they hold these pieces. What makes this even more exciting is that these coins are still out there. Unlike some rare coins that are locked away in collections or museums, 1951 wheat pennies can still be found in circulation, old collections, or inherited coin jars. That means anyone, including you, could potentially discover one. So the next time you come across an old penny, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the wheat ears on the back. Examine the surface for shine, detail, and possible errors. You might just uncover a hidden treasure that has been waiting decades to be noticed. Collectors love the thrill of the hunt, and coins like the 1951 no mint mark wheat penny keep that excitement alive. It's not just about the money, but the story, the rarity, and the connection to history that make these coins truly special. Now let's talk about the real market value and auction prices of this coin. A 1951 no mint mark wheat penny in worn, circulated condition is typically worth around 1 cent to 50 cents. In better uncirculated condition, it can range from $1 to around $10 depending on its quality. High-grade red examples can sell for $50 to over $100. Exceptional specimens with superb grading and original red luster have reached auction values of around $200 to $300, and rare error varieties can go even higher depending on their uniqueness and demand. Top 3. We are diving into a coin that many people have seen, many have held, and yet very few truly understand. A small copper piece that might be sitting quietly in your pocket change, forgotten in a jar, or hidden in an old family collection. But what if I told you that this simple coin could carry a story, a history, and in some rare cases, surprising value? Stay with me, because today we explore the fascinating world of the 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark. Imagine holding a coin that was minted just a few years after World War II. America was rebuilding, industries were growing, and everyday people were using these very pennies in markets, shops, and streets. The 1948 wheat penny is not just currency, it is a piece of living history. Every scratch, every worn edge, every faded detail tells a silent story of the hands it passed through. Now let's understand what makes the 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny special. First, the no mint mark detail. When you look just below the date on the coin, if there is no small letter like D or S, it means the coin was minted in Philadelphia. Back in 1948, Philadelphia did not use a mint mark, which is why these coins appear plain at first glance. But do not let that simplicity fool you. Millions of these coins were produced, which means most of them are common. But here is where things get interesting. Not all coins are equal. Condition, preservation, and rare minting errors can turn an ordinary coin into something collectors are willing to pay serious money for. Let's talk about condition, because this is where the magic begins. A 1948 wheat penny that has been heavily used will show wear on Lincoln's face, the wheat stalks on the back will look flat, and the overall coin may appear dull. These coins are common and usually hold minimal value. But if you find one that looks almost new, with sharp details, strong lines, and original shine, you might be holding something much more desirable. Collectors use grading systems to determine a coin's condition. Coins in uncirculated condition, meaning they were never used in daily transactions, are the ones that truly stand out. These coins can have a bright reddish color, known as red luster, which is highly prized among collectors. Now let's move into one of the most exciting parts of coin collecting, errors. Errors are what turn ordinary coins into rare treasures. During the minting process, mistakes can happen. These mistakes are not flaws, they are opportunities. For the 1948 wheat penny, collectors look for several types of errors. One of the most sought after is the double die error. This happens when the coin is struck more than once, slightly misaligned, creating a doubling effect on letters or numbers. If you notice the date or the word Liberty looking slightly doubled, that could be a sign of a valuable error. Another interesting error is off-center strikes. This occurs when the coin is not properly aligned during minting, resulting in a design that is shifted to one side. The more dramatic the shift while still showing the date, the more valuable the coin can become. Then there are die cracks and cuds. These happen when the minting dies start to break down over time. A raised line or blob of metal on the coin might look like damage, but in reality, it could be a rare minting feature that collectors actively seek. Even small details like unusual coloration can matter. Some 1948 pennies may have been improperly stored or exposed to different environmental conditions, creating unique toning patterns. While not always valuable, certain natural tones can attract collectors. Now imagine this scenario. You are going through an old box of coins, maybe something passed down from a grandparent. You pick up a 1948 penny. At first glance, it looks ordinary. But then you notice the details are sharp, the color is vibrant, and there is something slightly unusual about the lettering. That moment of curiosity could lead to an incredible discovery. Coin collecting is not just about money. It is about the thrill of the hunt, the connection to history, and the excitement of finding something rare in the most unexpected places. The 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny represents all of that. It is accessible, recognizable, and full of hidden potential. Another important factor is preservation. If you believe you have a high-quality or rare error coin, handling it properly is crucial. Avoid cleaning the coin, because cleaning can actually reduce its value. Store it in a protective holder, keep it away from moisture, and if possible, have it evaluated by a professional grading service. Collectors around the world continue to search for these coins, not just for their value, but for the stories they carry. Each coin is a small piece of American history, a reminder of a different era, and a symbol of how even the simplest objects can hold extraordinary meaning. So next time you come across a penny, do not ignore it. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for a mint mark. Examine the details. Because you never know, that small copper coin might just be the one that turns your curiosity into a rewarding discovery. And now, the moment you have been waiting for. Let's talk about value. A 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark in worn condition is typically worth a few cents to a few dollars. In higher uncirculated grades, especially with strong red luster, the value can rise to around $20 to $50. Exceptionally preserved examples can reach over $100. And rare error coins or top-graded pieces have been known to reach auction values of several hundred to even a few $1,000s depending on rarity and condition. That is the incredible journey of the 1948 no mint mark wheat penny. A small coin with a big story, waiting to be discovered. Top 4. We are diving into a fascinating piece of American coin history that many people overlook but collectors quietly chase with excitement: the 1946 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark. At first glance it looks like an ordinary 1-cent coin, something you might ignore in your pocket change, but hidden behind its simple copper surface is a story of history, rarity, and surprising value that could turn a single penny into a collector's treasure. Imagine holding a coin that was minted just after World War II, a time when the United States was transitioning from war to peace. The year 1946 marked a new beginning for the nation, and millions of pennies were produced to meet the needs of a growing economy. These coins feature the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that had already been in circulation since 1909 and remains one of the most recognized images in American coinage. On the reverse you will see the classic wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, a design that collectors lovingly call the wheat penny. Now here is where things get interesting. When we talk about a 1946 wheat penny with no mint mark, it means the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that time, Philadelphia did not use a mint mark, so coins produced there appear blank under the date. While millions of these coins were made, not all of them are equal, and that is exactly what makes some of them extremely valuable today. The first thing collectors look for is condition. A 1946 wheat penny that has been heavily circulated with scratches, worn edges and faded details will usually be worth only a small premium over its face value. But if you come across one that looks almost untouched with sharp details, bright luster and minimal, where you could be holding something much more special. Coins in mint state condition, especially those graded by professional services, can command significantly higher prices, but condition alone is not the only factor that creates value. Error coins are where the real excitement begins. During the minting process, mistakes sometimes happen, and these errors can transform an ordinary coin into a rare collectible. For the 1946 wheat penny, collectors search for several types of errors, including double die obverse, where the design appears slightly doubled, especially on the date or lettering. This kind of error is subtle, but once you notice it, you cannot unsee it, and it can dramatically increase the coin's value. Another sought-after feature is off-center strikes. This happens when the coin blank is not properly aligned during the minting process, causing part of the design to be missing. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date is still visible. There are also coins with die cracks or cuds, which appear as raised lines or blobs on the surface. These imperfections tell a story of worn-out dies being used beyond their prime, and collectors appreciate these unique variations because no two are exactly alike. Color is another factor that can influence value. Copper coins like the 1946 wheat penny naturally change color over time. Collectors classify them into red, brown, and brown categories. A fully red coin that has retained its original mint color is the most desirable and often the most expensive. Red-brown coins come next, while fully brown coins are usually the least valuable, although still collectible. Now think about how many of these coins have been lost, melted, or worn down over the decades. Even though millions were minted, finding one in pristine condition today is not easy. That scarcity combined with collector demand is what drives prices upward. Another interesting aspect is the emotional connection collectors have with these coins. Holding a 1946 penny is like holding a piece of post-war history. It represents resilience, recovery, and the beginning of a new era. This emotional value often adds to the coin's appeal, making it more than just a piece of metal. If you are searching for one of these coins, start by checking old jars, piggy banks, or inherited collections. Many people unknowingly possess valuable coins simply because they have never taken a closer look. Use a magnifying glass to inspect details and pay attention to any unusual features or errors. Even a small difference can mean a big jump in value. Professional grading is another step serious collectors take. Having your coin evaluated and authenticated by a recognized grading service not only confirms its condition but also increases its credibility in the market. This can make a significant difference if you ever decide to sell. As we reach the end of this journey, it becomes clear that the 1946 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark is far more than just a common coin. It is a blend of history, artistry, rarity, and potential value waiting to be discovered. In today's market, a typical circulated 1946 no mint mark wheat penny is worth a few cents to a few dollars depending on its condition. A high-grade uncirculated example can reach values of around $50 to $100. Coins with exceptional mint state grades or striking visual appeal have been known to sell for several $100s. Rare error versions, especially those with strong doubling or dramatic off-center strikes, can achieve prices ranging from a few $100s to several $1,000s at auction depending on their uniqueness and preservation. So the next time you come across a simple penny, take a closer look, because you never know, you might be holding a small copper coin with a story and a value far greater than 1 cent. Top 5. We are diving into a fascinating story hidden in one of the smallest and most overlooked pieces of everyday currency, the 1937 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it may look like just another old coin, something you might find in a dusty jar or forgotten drawer. But for collectors and coin lovers, this tiny copper piece carries history, mystery, and in some cases, surprising value. Imagine holding a coin that was minted nearly 90 years ago. A coin that passed through countless hands during one of the most defining periods in American history. The year 1937 sits right in the middle of the Great Depression-era recovery, when the United States was rebuilding its economy, and every single cent mattered. These pennies were not just currency, they were part of daily survival. Now let's talk about what makes the 1937 Lincoln Wheat Penny so special. First, the design itself. On the front, you see Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of unity and strength. This design was introduced in 1909 and became one of the most iconic coin designs in U.S. history. On the reverse, you'll notice the two wheat stalks, giving this coin its famous nickname, the Wheat Penny. But here's where things start to get interesting. The coin we're focusing on today has no mint mark. That means it was produced in Philadelphia, which was the primary mint at the time. Unlike coins from Denver or San Francisco, which carry a small D or S, Philadelphia coins often have no mint mark at all. You might be wondering, if millions of these coins were made, how can they be valuable? That's a great question, and the answer lies in rarity, condition, and most importantly, errors. Let's talk about condition first. A 1937 wheat penny in worn, circulated condition is common. These coins traveled through decades of transactions, so most of them show heavy wear. But when you find one in uncirculated condition, with sharp details, bright luster, and minimal contact marks, the value increases significantly. Collectors are always searching for coins that look as close as possible to the day they were minted. Now, here's where things get really exciting: mint errors. Error coins are like hidden treasures. They were never supposed to exist, and that's exactly why collectors love them. One of the most famous errors associated with 1937 pennies is the double die error. This happens when the coin is struck more than once, slightly misaligned, creating a visible doubling effect on the letters or numbers. If you look closely at the date or the word Liberty, you might see this doubling. And if you do, you could be holding something extremely valuable. Another error to watch for is off-center strikes. This happens when the coin blank is not properly aligned during the striking process. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing, and the rest is shifted. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more collectors are willing to pay. There are also die cracks and cuds. These occur when the minting die becomes damaged over time. You might see raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin's surface. While these might look like flaws, they actually add character and uniqueness, making the coin more desirable to certain collectors. And let's not forget about luster and color. Lincoln Wheat Pennies were made primarily of copper, and over time, copper changes color. Some coins turn brown, others develop a reddish tone, and a few rare ones retain their original red shine. Those red coins, especially from 1937, are highly sought after. Now imagine this scenario. You're going through an old collection or a box of coins, and you spot a 1937 penny. Most people would ignore it. But you take a closer look. You check the details. You examine the surface. And suddenly, you notice something unusual, maybe a doubling, maybe an off-center strike, maybe an incredible shine that has survived decades. That's the moment every collector dreams of. Coin collecting is not just about money. It's about discovery, history, and the thrill of finding something rare in the most unexpected places. Every coin tells a story, and the 1937 Lincoln Wheat Penny is no exception. This coin connects us to a different time, a time when a single cent had real purchasing power, when people saved every coin they could, and when these pennies were part of everyday life. So the next time you come across an old penny, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look. You might be holding a piece of history, or even a hidden treasure. And now, let's talk about the real market value. A 1937 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark in circulated condition is typically worth around a few cents to a few dollars depending on where. In uncirculated condition, it can range from around $10 to $50. However, coins with strong red color can reach values between $100 and several $100s. If the coin has a significant mint error such as a double die or major off-center strike, the value can rise dramatically, reaching hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction depending on rarity and condition.